Good afternoon. I'm Mark Allen with Gaper.io, and I'm here today with Joshua Walovitch, the co-founder and strategy director for Ideometry. Good afternoon, Josh.
And thanks for me.
How you doing today?
I'm doing it, hanging in there.
That's good. So can you give us a brief background of yourself and your work experience?
Yeah, sure. So I actually started off working in journalism, writing for the Boston Herald in Boston. And shortly after leaving the newspaper industry, I worked for a bunch of different startups, then also worked for some ad agencies. And then eventually I teamed up with my co-founder, Charles Lockwood, and we started our current digital growth marketing agency, Ideometry, around 5-6 years ago.
Oh, cool. So just out of curiosity, did you work with the people that, I'm trying to remember the name of that movie that was about the Catholic Church?
Spotlight?
Yes.
That I came way after that. So
Okay.
I did not work directly with those folks, yeah.
Okay, interesting. That was a very good movie, actually. So
Yeah.
what has been your experience with remote employment, both as an employee and an employer?
Sure. So at one of the first ad agencies I worked at, it was a smaller digital agency where it was 100% had been, I'm not sure, maybe like 8-9 years ago. It was an agency called Ericon, run by a gentleman named Whitney. And so, that was sort of my introduction, just sort of thrown in. But between, Skype chatting, G chatting, and the occasional in-person, catch up, it was seamlessly painless back then, which I think has helped with the transition to, being fully remote now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what was your takeaway from these experiences?
I think one of the most important things was like self-care and managing time while working remotely. At that point, I lived in sort of just like a one-bedroom apartment, and I really made a point to, in the morning, leave. And what I would do is I would actually leave out the front door, and I'd go get coffee. And when I'd come home, I'd come in the back door. So actually, it would feel like I was, coming into a different location, even though I was heading into the same room. So like different sort of small psychological tricks like that. I think, although they sound silly, I found to be helpful.
Yeah, I've talked to other people that have similar rituals, and it just gets you in a different mode. It really does work.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm also a big believer in sort of like dressing for the situation that you're sort of in. So when I get up in the morning, I'm obviously I know it's cool to like wear a suit and tie, but with like no pants underneath for a Zoom call or whatever. But just from my own sort of focus for the day, I do like to get dressed first thing in the morning and not leave the pajamas on, until it's like 2 p.m. Although for people who like doing that, there's a plus side to that as well.
Yeah, and for the record, I am fully dressed while I'm talking to you. I'm the same. I like to, I shaved and everything, right, and showered, just like I would if I was going into the office.
Right.
So what do you think is the future of remote employment, and what do you think can be done differently to make it more effective?
Yeah, so I'll say at our current company right now, when my partner and I started the company, we didn't like going into the office every single day. So we had a standing policy of always working from home on Fridays, and we've kept that ever since. And I think that made it really easy to transition into now, because of COVID-19, everyone's working from home, into that transition pretty seamlessly. But after a week or two of doing it with the entire time working remotely, it's business as usual. I think one of the biggest takeaways that people are going to realize after the fact, hopefully this whole situation is over with, is that bosses and people who are managing teams will be a little bit quicker to relinquish their sort of ownership of having to see people in the office, and have a little bit more trust in employees to be able to get the job done. I think at the end of the day, you have that trust with your employees, and I think it also sort of warps people's concept of time, of having to work from 9 to 5. We see our team, they get the job done. We don't know exactly how they're spending every minute, but it's moot as long as we're meeting our deadline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny because most of the people I talk to on these podcasts, when I ask this question, they talk about the personal things. They don't talk about the technical things, which is kind of interesting, right? Because I think the technology is, it's pretty close right now. I think there's still some things that can make it better, but I think, it's come a long way.
Yeah, I mean, you can sign up for a Zoom account in 30 seconds. It's free. It works pretty good. We use a couple of we use like Join Me and some other and Uber conferences as well for different sort of use cases. But once you figure it out, then it's kind of becomes sort of second nature. The one thing I did find a little bit draining these first couple of weeks working from home is that I felt like I was having a lot more meetings. And it wasn't that I was having more meetings, it was just that the meetings that I typically have face-to-face in the office with my colleagues and coworkers are now supplemented with being over the phone. So I remember that first week when sort of the coronavirus took off and we were working from home, I was really drained at the end of the day. And I think it was because it was nonstop meetings, whereas in the office, you're having a meeting in the kitchen over coffee and you are going for a walk, and it breaks up the day from that perspective. But so that's just something where, you work through over time.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that too. So what's the story behind Ideometry and what's the journey been like?
Yeah, so like I said, I worked for different ad agencies previously, and so did my co-founder, Charles Lockwood, and we ended up working together at a university here in Boston, sort of digital media and marketing component and advertising component at that school. And we worked really well together, had a good rapport. A lot of the projects we were working on, we started to get conferences, got really good feedback. Both I were perpetual freelancers, always doing different startups or side projects on the side. And at some point we said, why don't we just do this ourselves? So we launched the firm as sort of a lead generation company. And shortly thereafter, most of our clients asked if we could do X, Y, and Z. And between both of us, he has this skill set in terms of development and design and a sort of creative mind. My background in terms of, paid media buying and content marketing and writing and strategy, like we could do everything under the sun to a certain extent. So fast forward 6 years later, we're a full service growth marketing agency, and we work with a lot of growth stage startups, companies that are sort of, have raised, either a large seed round or a Series A, are growing quickly, need to mature their brand and sort of prove out that they can scale the company. And so that's sort of where we are today, working, with a lot of those tech startups.
Mm-hmm. So in the current situation with the ongoing pandemic, many companies have been forced to go remote. What do you think are the major roadblocks and challenges that they're facing, including you, if you're facing any?
Yeah, I mean, I think I touched on some, but I think I think the one which is this one first, the technical sort of component, like how do we tactically get the entire team on the same page communicating together? And I think between Slack and Zoom and Google Docs and stuff like that, which are tools that people used to a certain extent before, they just need to sort of figure out how to adapt and use them with a greater frequency. And I think people are doing that. And I think the second component is sort of the human aspect, the managerial aspect, making sure your team is plugged in, making sure people have opportunities to sort of have the types of conversations they typically have in person, which are important, conversations that aren't about work, but are about just, into your colleagues, for fun. I think, that's a challenge that is sort of both from a top-down perspective of trying to take the range and find opportunities to engage their employees, which isn't easy depending on how large your company is. So I think there's those two elements that companies are trying to work through right now.
Yeah, and are all of your employees based in the Boston area?
Yes, they are. Although some have gone to where like their family is outside of Boston because we're going to be going in the office anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are companies like Gaper that help develop, build, and scale products, especially for startups. How important do you think these setups will be going on in the future, where a startup needs to hire people, and the main thing they need to hire is quality people, and they need to hire them now. They don't have these long hire cycles.
Yeah, I think the opportunity is huge for those types of service offerings, also because, especially for the right talent, for sometimes people were sort of adamant that we need someone in Boston, they have to sit next to their space. But I think what's going on right now is sort of a proof that that's not necessary. And what that does is opens up the opportunity for your pool to evaluate more candidates, which means higher quality candidates, which means highly likelihood that you're going to find the right person for the job. And I think that's one of the really aspects of these growth stage startups is that they're questioning sort of the assumptions they had before this whole situation. And I think once they come to sort of reality behind those answers, it's only going to help them in terms of solutions that aren't confined to their geographical location.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, Josh, I'd like to thank you for your time today. I wish Ideometry good luck in the future, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.